Hello. This video is probably the most complex and long because we need today to talk about the planning tab. That's the main tab in this tool because all tabs before it physically from surveillance to donors, all these tabs are designed to enter and prepare content, but the actual planning happens in this tab. So here in this tab we produce the budget, and it may look unusual because there are a lot of empty places here. Let's say you can see that here is an empty place, and the empty place is between records like here, and it's not clear maybe first time when you look at it why these empty places are here. But so we will go through and we will understand why these empty places are here, and how to work in the tool. So before going to each column and cell and showing how it happens, just a brief overview of the structure. If you can see from the right side, there is sort of a separation, because here in this block we see results of computation, and we also see here in this column we see unique codes, which means that the tool recognizes whatever is entered on the left. It's computed the costs, it computed the budget, and it assigned this unique code which is in this column. So the process of budgeting, it usually mostly happens on the left side. So we have to complete left side, and then the only column on the right side which we may need to enter something, this is a column integrated, where we will select a value, an item from the drop-down list here, and say okay, and indicate that this particular input is integrated into that one. Okay, but this happens in the end. So now let's discuss what happens first. And first, what happens is that we need to understand the concept of budget line item. Simply here we see these three columns, which is disease, function, and we see function and activity, but we don't see how. And then we have, so these are three elements, and then we have input name, organization, this one, and then we have these three. So in the methodology, we'll find that there are three layers in the planning, which is structural layer, this one, and then it is programmatic layer, and this is a financial layer. Although quantity, lump sum, quantity is part of also operational because it talks about the scale of operation. But we don't need to repeat every time. We don't need to repeat these three, because when you enter disease, case, function, and activity, it says, oh, this is an disease-specific surveillance activity which we need to budget, and which may have one input per organization, or as many inputs as needed. Here we have 1, 2, 3. Here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and every time. So we start here entering disease, function, activity, and then we continue here, here, here. So we go to the end, then we return back. When we go here, return back, go here, but we never return here. We don't want to start new activity. So when you start an activity and you get here, the tool assigns this number, 02. So it's number 2 activity. And then this activity has several budget line items. And you can imagine as if these words here, I mean, neonatal tetanus investigation, confirmation of facility, if they are filling down here, but they are invisible, let's say, because you don't need to enter because the tool fills it for you. It's somewhere, not here, but you can imagine. And therefore, you don't need every time. So it minimizes data entry and also helps the tool to recognize. Look, on the right side in the tool, we have in this column, we have input cost. So when input is not integrated, it means it has to be budgeted. And tool has the unit cost, it sees the quantity, it calculates simply unit cost, which is a cost of this line. But to budget the activity, to calculate activity budget, the tool first needs to understand how many inputs are under this activity. 1, 2, 3. The first one, it's here, but there is nothing to, but anyway, it's a 4. So, and then the tool sums these 4 values and calculates it 106. It doesn't count 210 because it belongs to measles 3. And how the tool understands that only these 4 columns should be, rows should be summed up. The way to understand that it recognizes activity number 3, which starts here. So everything below this belongs to different activities. So this activity starts from here and then ends here. That's why fixing activity in the tool is critical, the tool, to understand how to produce the numbers in budgeting funding. So, and how we do that? I think we can start from real exercise. Say, this is something we did yesterday. Today we need to continue budgeting. And to do so, and we need to add a new budget line. So what we do? We go to the first empty cell in the column disease name. How we define what is empty? You see, if we scroll down, the last activity budget is number 18, hepatitis A, reporting, sending notification. So here we have 2 empty. Empty means the cell where there is no content, it's also white. The background is white. The tool creating the white, changing background to white, it sort of guides you that the cell is ready for data entry. Just to make it clear, all the cells from here to here, they are editable. And also this integration into activity column. But it's not that the tool doesn't allow you to enter value, but it just tells you that before you jump and start editing B, you have to, this column, surveillance function, please start first from the disease, because you need to move from left to right and complete the first row till here, and then decide if you need to enter more inputs name in this column or go to the next. Therefore, The easiest way is to start and enter hepatitis B. And then you see the left, you see its cell on the right becomes white. So it becomes, let's say, blank, and it says come and enter now the value here. And then you select an item, which is surveillance function. So if you don't do so, and you try to enter something here, I will show what happens. Let's delete it and say we're here, and instead of entering here in the blank, we decide to skip it and come here. It doesn't work. Why? Because the content of this drop-down list, they are tailored to the function selected here. So case detection with the activities which are relevant for case detection. We select analysis and feedback. We see only actions which fall under this function. Therefore, in this particular case, you cannot skip. You have first to enter here and then enter activity here. Now, the next. Actually, it was blank, and the reason it was blank that when you complete this line, the tool doesn't know. Do you want to enter new input here, right? Or you want to move to the new activity. Now we decided that after 18 we need to add new activity, which means that we start from here, from the disease. Okay, now let's make it something simple. Electricity, and let's say the ministry level, and we say it's not integrated, so we need to calculate let's say subscription. There should be something like subscription, or let's take which unit is not easy, right? It seems like so it's interesting. We didn't find, because for electricity probably we need some different unit. And maybe the unity that we counted by square meter, because we know that usually we spend 5. So let's say square meter. And then we enter 2 at unit cost, and let's say 150 square meter. Voila. So we got here 300 as input cost, and the activity cost also 300, because there is no other input here. Now we have choice. Either we go here and continuous and adding inputs, or we start new activity number 20. Why 20? Because when we came here and when we entered square meter, the tool calculated its number and said, okay, it's now activity number 19. And most importantly, we got here unique identifier. Where these numbers come from? Identifier consists of 5 actually. On the left side there are 3 and there are 5 components. Just briefly to describe what does it mean, identifier. Let's make it a bit bigger so we can see. This one, first one, is disease. So it says 06 is a disease. Which disease? If we go to diseases number 6, hepatitis B. You see it here. So it's a disease. Then it's a function. So this one is function. Then in the function is activity. This is for input 06, and this is for organization. And if the combination of these 5 values are unique, definitely the numbering is unique. If you don't, then the tool will tell you, sorry, the value entered is already there. Or it may be in that case because sometimes you can have the same entry because the measurement unit can be different for the same input. or even unit cost. Let's say if you have a personnel at the district laboratory, you may have personnel with paid monthly and the personnel paid per case, or you can have personnel where unit cost is A, and then for another type of personnel in the same entity, it's the same input, the same activity, same disease, you may have different unit costs. Anyway, that's not our main objective in this video, to discuss unique values. We may have separate discussion about it. So let's go and decide, let's add a new input. I'm just selecting arbitrary inputs. I don't really pay attention to the meaning of these inputs. And let's say same budget holder, and let's say it's not integrated, and we can have staffing positions. No, let's say lump sum to make our life easier. Let's say per month it's lump sum, but it's a 12 months. So you see 2,400 is added, and the tool immediately calculates increase the activity funding. Now let's start another conference, and let's say this case something goes to the conference and it's by the ministry, but this is integrated into something, and we have two options. Either we say SBLI, which is surveillance budget line item. This means that it's covered from other line item, either from the budget here or from the projects. Let's select this way. Now, what's interesting is that when you do so, the tool does not change the color here, because if it's integrated, you don't need to budget anything. So nothing changed on the right. The tool doesn't invite you to continue entering data in these three columns. And it makes this cell red, saying, guys, don't forget, because you indicated that this is integrated, so you need to come and fill it in. We select any item here and say, all right, this conference is covered from the line item, which is somewhere here. And again, I don't pay really now pay attention to the meaning of it, and let's assume that this is covered from here. You see, when we select items here, we don't see everything. We see disease, activity with the input, but we don't see organization. But just to not get confused, this code is attached here, the unique code, so we can easily decipher this code and understand what is 02, which is building, and what is 03, which is a specific organization. In this case, presumably 03 is district lab. Okay, so let's add one more just to see all possible options, and this is equipment. Let's have a health department, and we say, okay, this input, this is integrated, but not in the budget line item, by the health system. Usually, and you see what happens? We don't get anything on the right here, blank, so we're not invited to continue editing it, but we suddenly got here the cell in pink. In pink, it means that there is no need to enter anything from this list. It's possible, but it makes no sense because it's integrated in the health system. So even if you indicate any item here, the tool ignores it, because the financial coverage of this input has gone beyond surveillance, beyond the project supporting surveillance, and we don't have to specify anything more than saying that this is covered by health system. Preferably, if we wanted to do so, it would have been, let's say, bonus. Let's say a bonus of the primary healthcare clinic. I think we had a central lab. district lab. Do we have clinic? Yes, primary healthcare clinic. This can be very common when primary health clinic already has bonuses for the medical staff in the budget. So no need to enter it again here, and we can say it's absorbed. So we can, just to conclude this exercise, let's enter one more input here. And there is no limitation about the number of inputs. As much as needed can be added. These are office supplies. And let's indicate hospital district. And no, I mean hospital district is to health department. And it's not integrated, meaning we will have to enter the value. And we can say per person or per FTA. Yeah, FTA months can be, let's say, office supplies per person working there. And we can say 5, it can say 12, and 60. And this 60 is also added. So, look, the tool is smart enough to understand that everything from here to here, this should be counted and constitute the budget. Okay? The budget of this activity. Now, let's enter another one. We can again hepatitis B, but because that's a different activity, we have to start from the beginning. So you cannot. So if, let's say we wanted to use our active case finding. Although it belongs to the same disease, hepatitis B, we cannot start it without it. So if I delete it, you see it says, come on, where the hepatitis B? So it requires you to enter value in, before. Even again, it's sort of repetitive, but it's not repetitive because this is different from this one, right? From this one, and we enter salary or per diem, let's say, and community health administration, because our teams are there, it's not integrated, and we person day, and we say it costs this amount, and we expect this amount of days in the field. Okay. Now, so we got activity 19, activity 20, and then suddenly we realize that we miss something here. Hepatitis A has not only communication input for this activity, but it has other inputs. So what to do? Should we go and delete everything here and enter the value here? Or imagine that it's not 20 the last activity, but it's 65 is the last activity number, and we need to add missing inputs under hepatitis A, which is 18. The tool allows you to enter again the same activity, so no need. So you can bring and add this. It just requires you to. Oh, sorry. It's it's send notification, and we can say electricity is another one, and it's now at the district health department. No, and we can calculate it this way. So the tool, again, if you notice, it calculates the activity as an input, it assigns its unique number. Now, if we compare, let's compare now the codes of this unique numbers. So in case of 18, it was, let's compare. In case of 18, it was 05, this one, yeah, 050501, and here it's 050501, because disease, function, activity, these are the same. Organization is different here. This is health department, and here it was a district lab, and then input is different, electricity and communication, and then organization is also different. So when we do so, this still will be consolidated by the tool. So let's go to budget output tables and check hepatitis A. I think in this, you take hepatitis A and you see communication, electricity. Here they are. So even they were entered in completely different places, so, and they were separated by hepatitis B related to activities. It doesn't matter for the tool. The tool is dynamic, which means that it picks up everything which is related to this activity, hepatitis sending notification, and consolidate those inputs as if they were entered one next to each other. So that's one of the merits of this tool. So although the planning worksheet seems long, actually it gives you a lot of flexibility to the users to set values as needed, and in any sequence, provided that all columns necessary for registering an activity, which means this is at least on the one side, so they should be filled in. So if it's not integrated, so then we have to enter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 values. Actually, we enter 2 values and the rest we select from the drop-down list. And if it's integrated, we don't need to enter financial values, which means that we should define 6 values, or here, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or just 3 values, because these 3 columns are already kind of recognized by the tool that they belong to the activity 11, and we enter here only 3. So it's actually minimize the data to enter and makes it even easier to distinguish activities. Question: why we start defining activity from the disease? Another way around, why the first column is disease and not, let's say, function? There were debates while developing this approach and tool, and the assumption that was favored, at least at this stage, is that most of professionals in surveillance, they see the processes not from case detection or reporting, but they see how things are done when the starting point is disease. So when they say measles, okay, and then they tell you, all right, this function and activity, it is implemented and funded at this level by this organization. These are inputs, and this is the quantity of this inputs measured with this unit. So the process vision, disease is the starting point. However, we don't preclude that in some countries it might be different, and country may say, no, we prefer to start and compose budgets from using function, and instead, okay, case detection, observation, and then list that we use this activity and this function for this disease, and then specify inputs per each disease. If that's the case, the methodology can be revised, and there can be even 2 options. So you can use this structure of planning or another one, giving more even flexibility to the tool. But at this stage, the methodology and the instrument, respectively, are underpinned by the assumption that the disease is the starting point in describing processes and getting to quantification of the inputs. Disease is the most important one. And this is also part of the logical model, conceptual model behind the methodology. Now, when we are done, we have one more duty to go through this and select appropriate item. Now, why we do this in the end? Why we need to finish everything here? Let's say 21 is the last activity, so we have 21 budget line items with actually more subline items inside. Why? Because this list is populated from the line items from here. So if you don't complete this, you cannot find in the middle. So if you just decide at this stage, it's activity number 5, to define where it is integrated to. Most likely, at the beginning of converting the budget, you don't have sufficient items here, you see, and you cannot go further. So it doesn't make sense to hurry with this, rush with this. So better to finish everything on the left and then come here and decide which activities goes where. Now, another interesting thing is that the tool, let's say, transportation, so pertussis, case detection, history collection, transportation. Because it's integrated, the tool will never display it here. So pertussis, let's say pertussis. In case of pertussis, we have several items here, but it's not the transportation. It shouldn't be the transportation service actually, and the reason is that if it's already integrated into something, okay, theoretically, it makes no sense to integrate A into B, then B into C, C to the D, and when you come to the D, and suddenly you say, okay, D is not anymore sustained, and it gets 0 value. It's very difficult to track back how many child interventions were parented by this one. Therefore, if the value is if an input is integrated into other, it must not or cannot appear in the list, and that's what the tool has and must do. Now, the last point before finishing this long video, in case you enter here, so you want to enter value which is not in the drop-down list, wherever column it happens, you can go back and update it. Let's say we want to electricity and we want to use it by kilowatts, and it's not here. What you do, you go to this is units, so you go to inputs. Here is cost units table, and in this list you enter kilowatt, let's say like this, and then you go back, you open it, and you should find it respectively somewhere K, you see. So that's why it's good to make some additional preparation initially of the catalogs, but especially when it comes to units and inputs, you can always find that you miss something. So the process of composing the budget is not just you stay and work here in this worksheet. You go back and forward between the catalogs and the worksheet, update the catalogs to have appropriate needed item in the list, and that's how you compose it in the end. Thank you, and We are open to questions. You can ask the questions in the comments next to this video, and we will try to respond in writing or produce another video to make it more clear how to use this. And don't forget to read carefully the methodology and the user guide, because all these actions, approaches, rules are described there. See you soon.